Hello again, it's me, that guy with the YouTube channel. Anyways, enough with the formalities. Now that I'm back for another 15 or so-ish minutes before I disappear for another month, today we're going to be doing another review, and today we'll be reviewing the Sci-Fi Revoltech Mother Legion. So before we get on with the figure, the box, as you can see, this is the original Sci-Fi release, not the legacy version. There's a picture of the figure on the front, some stuff about the figure and who sculpted it, which release in the series it is. Kyoto. Another picture of the figure. On the back, there's another picture of the figure. 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 On the side, we have some nice how Revoltech joints work. Same thing on the bottom. Top is nothing special, just a weird thing with some flame. Opening the Velcro flap, there's a picture of Legion, some stuff about the movie. There's another picture of the figure. 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 So for detail, it's actually a very nice sculpt with this figure, as you can see, starting with her oddly humanoid front legs. The feet are very nice, even on the bottom they're nicely detailed. You got that nice off bone white for the armory looking bits with a brownish reddish wash, and even some darker brown highlights in places, like on the front of the feet and in front of the leg armor. You got the leg hairs, whatever that is, hanging over the brown bits for the skin there, which maybe could have used a little bit more definition from the hair, but it's okay. The claws, which protrude from her hips for some reason, are, as you can see, really nicely textured there, and it's all really brought out by this wash, and it looks really good. And these weird bits at the end of her claws. Front, as you can see, mine are a little scuffed because this is a used figure, but it was only $40, so I am not going to complain in the slightest. One thing I will complain about, though, is there's little hairs around the claw, which should be painted, but they're not. Oh well. And you got that weird nipple tit multiple things that shoot out the Legion soldiers, which is translucent, and you can't actually get a light to shine through it, and it does look cool, but it's painted over in this release for some reason, so you can't really tell it's translucent, but on the re-release you can. And just going up, the head sculpt is very, very nice with the translucent blue eyes. The horn doesn't really sit straight. You would kind of have to heat it to get it to sit straight, but I don't really think any of these have the horns sit straight out of the box. Yeah, you can see all the little fingery things, which are very thin and actually kind of fragile because this one was broken out of the box. But thankfully I fixed it on the hinge right here with one of those little plastic tag things you get off clothes that everybody hates. Found one of those in the carpet and it just fit right in there, and it works as a pretty good substitute for the peg. But yeah, as you can see, this one's a little bent. And by a little, I mean I'm making a huge fucking understatement. This one's also bent too, but not too badly. And this really big horn thing, which doesn't curve too much, unlike Bandai's version. And it is actually very sharp, so it's cool right there. You can crawl in your crawl. Okay, now that I've gotten weird memes out of my system, this part right here, I'm pretty sure should be painted, but it's not. It doesn't really bother me. You can hardly tell in the movie anyway. The back looks very nice. Again, you have that really nice texture right there, which is really brought out by the wash, and some brown highlights in places with an airbrush. Coming to the back, you can see this weird part here, which I think would be where the wings would have been. I don't think there is a flying Legion figure. Would be cool if they made a flying Legion figure. Anyways, let's zoom out a little bit here. Yeah, the middle legs are really nicely done. Again, they have that really nice texture on them. I'm going to stop bringing that up because I don't want it to end up like another picture of the figure. Anyways, we got this long bit here, which she uses to stab Gamera in the movie. Yeah, it's all very, very nicely done. And you got the more fat, stubby little legs at the back. And this weird thing, which looks like a wasp's ass. It isn't as well detailed as it is on the Bandai. But whatever, you're hardly ever going to see that part anyway. And the bottom is actually detailed, unlike a lot of Mother Legion figures, and it looks really nice, and these things look disgusting. So yeah, for detail on this figure, it's real good. So for articulation, starting with the head, it's articulated similar to the Gamera figure that was made to go along with this, where there's one joint here and another here, so they both look up and swivel a little bit. But they can't look side to side, so to do it you gotta like pull the head off and then swivel one of the joints, and then the head looks side to side, and it's really weird. But once you get used to it, it's not bad. Finger things are hinged in two places, one right here where they can move in and out, swivel up and down kind of, and then swivel right here, and another spot right here where they're all hinged. And all of them are like this. This one's a little loose since I told you it has one of those little weird shirt tag things. But they're all articulated individually, so that's really cool. The horns open up to reveal the beam, gem, amber colored thing, which is really nice looking. And you can also remove these if you wanted to make her look like at the end of the movie when she's doing the weird laser whip thing. Mandibles open up in two places, one here where it's a similar joint to the ones at the base of the finger things, and two more hinges on the outer part, so you can get it to open like that. Body is hinged at the waist, right here, on a really big Revoltech joint, which actually kinda can't support the weight of the figure, because when I first got it, this joint here was really loose and the figure just couldn't even hold itself up. So I had to go and swap it out with one of the leg joints from Baragon. I don't know how long that's going to hold. Legs move forward and backward on a ratchet, in and out on a swivel, and they can also kind of swivel like that, so that probably counts for something. Claws hinge in and out and swivel up and down. There's also another swivel since it's a revolver joint. They also open at the pincers, which they open. Hinge in the knee, and a hinge in the foot, which can hinge kind of limited with an extremely limited swivel and a basically non-existent pivot. Back middle legs can swivel forward, and in another place too they can swivel. They also hinge like that. Cool. This part here moves and it also swivels. Again, it's a revolver joint. Same goes for the back legs. They move like that, and these really fat stubby little legs can move. So this figure is really articulated despite being a really weird and seemingly not very posable design. So for accessories, first off she comes with the standard sci-fi Revoltech name plaque, which just says Legion in Japanese, and the title of the movie, Gamera 2 Advent of Legion, 1996, whatever that last part says. There's a little peg, but nothing for it to peg into. Pretty simple. Next, she comes with this little flying Gamera, which is pretty cool. As you can see, you can focus on it there. Despite having a very tiny face, it is painted on the tusks and everything, and that's the only bit of paint on this figure. It's cast in this kind of navy bluish plastic, like the actual Gamera figure itself. No paint on the plastron, but the reissue actually does have paint. And of course, to hold it up, there's a hole in there. You get one of these little stands, which could also hold one of the flying legions that came with Gamera, and it just stands up like that there. Next you get an orange box, but it is not the orange box that is the important accessory. It is these tiny fuckers. Yeah, just like with Gamera, you get a bunch of little choking hazards, or Legion soldiers as we like to call them, which are kind of in scale with the figure. Maybe they should be a little smaller. That's a real smart idea. Yeah, these things are really tiny, and they even have a tiny bit of paint on them right there. Can see in there where the eye would be, but it's not really sculpted. And yeah, overall they're really tiny, really easy to lose, and you get a bunch of them. Aneurysm waiting to happen. So for sizing, here she is, of course, with the most obvious choice, the Revoltech Gamera 1996, which Gamera might be just a little bit too big. Maybe that would be good, but as it stands, this is pretty good. And once you get Gamera posed in a rather unconvincing action pose, as shown here, it looks okay. Gamera might not think so, but it looks okay. Kyoto actually did release a small resin statue of Gamera, which actually was kind of better detailed than this figure, which was made to go along with Legion, but I think that was a little too small. It's kind of hard to gauge how big these two are together in the movie. Here she is with the Bandai Mother Legion, just to compare, and not only is this one way more detailed, but the Bandai has just a lot more mass to her than the Revoltech, which, as inaccurate as this Bandai one is, it is still a very nice figure. Yeah, this is just to compare Mother Legions and how tiny this thing is, and how weirdly scaled this thing is, and how odd of a short neck the Bandai one has. What the hell? Here she is with the SH Monster Arts Gamera. Again, just to show you how tiny and out of scale this thing is with basically anything that isn't Revoltech and Heisei Gamera. Yeah, that's the whole thing for you. Here she is with the two standard common figures I show with basically every figure, just to give you an idea of how big the figure we're reviewing is, which I'm not even going to bother naming because basically everyone has this figure, and this is a pretty common figure that's being used 9 million times. I don't think this sizing is quite so accurate to the movie. Just a hunch. And of course, that almost important sizing. Woo. So overall, despite this figure's really small size, it is a really good figure, and if you can get it, I would recommend it. This release is not the easiest to get. In fact, it used to be shit your pants high expensive for just a tiny figure like this, even though when it originally came out it was about $45, although it has recently been re-released by Kyoto under the Legacy of Revoltech line, with the different paint job, like I said, and it costs around $50 to $60, although that release is now starting to climb in price too. So, if you're like the boy, and you haven't gotten it yet, do it.